Faye Plunkett. Welcome to the podcast.
Thank you so much for having me.
I'm buzzing to have you. I have chased you multiple times to have you on because I love your content so much.
Oh, do you know what? I literally love a woman who knows what they want. And when you messaged me for like the 5th time, I was like, I love this girl. I'm in. I
feel like this morning I woke up and I told myself, doesn't matter. I mean, I will release this episode, but I was like, doesn't matter if no one else were to listen to this. I just want to be in her presence for like an hour.
Oh, that
and then
is
I'm
so
going to take
kind.
the positivity, because I feel like lately I've been going to like amazing dinners and lunches with my friends. I've been catching up after ages. And then there would be that one dinner conversation that would carry me for days. throughout the rest of the week.
Yeah. Absolutely. That is literally like where I get all of my inspiration from, just conversations with people. And sometimes like if someone says something that I find really inspiring or that we have an amazing conversation about, I'll write it in my notes, and then I'll like almost not necessarily like write a script about it, but I'll just write about that topic, and then that's what I'll say. It's all like about my everyday life or conversations I have with people.
Amazing. Is this where you get your inspiration from? Partly.
Yeah, exactly that. Like, I love talking to people. I also love talking to strangers, which is wild. I feel like everyone has such a story to tell. So yeah, speaking to friends and family, reading books, like seeing things on social media, just anywhere I can get inspiration from, I will then maybe write it in my notes or write it down and then kind of evolve it from there.
I feel like there were so many questions I was going to go right into when we were unfolding there. But I really want to take a step back, and for people listening to you for the very first time, I love your content and I share that on the social media page. Can you tell people a little bit about what you do?
Yes, of course I can. So my name is Faye. I'm a content creator and singer, and I basically create content all around going where you're celebrated, living your most unapologetic life, trying to kind of see all of the excitement in the everyday, and basically just trying to help people, not necessarily heal, but help people through the days that feel really heavy in any way, through any sort of like words of inspiration or words of confidence. So yeah, all of my content is just hopefully very happy and mood boosting and helping people through heavy days.
I'd like to think in the grand scheme of things, you are still young and yet you have so much wisdom, so much maturity. Where does it come from?
Do you know what? I get asked that all the time. And I think like I'm the youngest of 3.
Okay.
So I take on, like my sister is really wise. She's 7 years older than me. And we've always had like really deep conversations. She's a yoga teacher and she's quite spiritual. And she has like opened my eyes up to that world as well. And so having loads of conversations with her, but from a very young age, and she's always like questioned things that I do and been like, where's that come from? And then it kind of like makes me think. And then just like conversations with friends, as I say, like even if I'm not necessarily speaking to strangers, like I will ask people questions of all ages and then just take wisdom from anywhere I possibly can. So yeah, I never really would think of myself as super wise, and I don't really know where it's come from. But for me, it's really just all about trying to spread like hope, because I know the world can feel really heavy sometimes, and just to try and give people hope in whatever way that I possibly can. But I honestly have no idea where that's come from, just conversations with people.
I love this. You know, recently I was speaking to a friend and I said, he asked me, like, who's been the most memorable guest you've had on the podcast for? I've been doing this for 2 years now.
Yeah.
And I said, you know what? I really enjoy most of the guests I've had. I've learned so much from them. But I haven't yet come across, I think I said, I want to speak to someone who perhaps is in like the 70s, the 80s, and who's lived life, right?
Absolutely.
And just sit with them. And like, I think like be fueled with the idea of like, it's going to be okay eventually.
Yeah.
And then he said, but do you not think like someone in their early 30s could have lived life?
Yeah,
and that
so
like hit me, and I was like, we call it in French le vécu, like whatever you've lived so far. And he was like, but someone at 30 or someone in the 40s could have this, or someone in the 20s could have this, and you could have the same conversation with them. Just reframe my mind so much.
It's true. And like, I guess we've all lived a different life. Like someone growing up who's in their 70s now, who grew up when they were 20, will have had like such a different experience of their 20s at that point in time. So yeah, and I think like there are people who are in their early 30s, or like I'm in my late 20s, and they've been through loads or they've done loads, maybe like done loads of traveling, met loads of different people. And then there are also people in their 70s who have maybe never left their hometown. Like it's so high. I think it doesn't necessarily matter about what age it is. It's kind of like just the lived experience.
So you started in April, as in you started your social media page in April, which is fantastic, thinking about your community who has gone up to like nearly 100,000 followers. Like people loved you. And I sometimes come across your content and it makes my day. Oh. It's all like really colourful, very positive. And I have to say, I wore this jumper for you today.
Oh, I love it.
I need to get some flowery touch. When you started your journey, did you ever think like you would manage to like reach out to so many people?
Absolutely not. Like, and I know everyone says that, but genuinely, so George, my husband, bought me a scooter for Christmas, and I think he thought it was a joke. Like, I was like, oh, I'd love to just scoot around London. I feel like it's such a good way to get around. And then one day I was scooting back from the gym, and I was just like, I love this so much. I need to tell the girlies of London they have to get themselves a scooter. So it was pitch black, and I held my arm out and like put the flash on. I didn't even know if I could scoot with one hand at that point. And I just scooted up the street, and I was like, girlies, everyone needs to get themselves a scooter. These are the reasons why. And I think because it was pitch black and you couldn't see the scooter, it looked like I was riding a horse up the streets of London in the pitch black with like a puffy coat on. And so I think that is just what made it go viral. And from then, loads of people were having questions and they were saying like, show us your scooter, or we love this energy, or whatever it might have been. Right. And so I just kind of played it from there, but I had no idea. I mean, like now sometimes, which is hilarious, I'll be walking down the street and people will genuinely shout "Scooter Girl," and I'm like, imagine if I would have told Faye in 2024 that you were gonna like walk up the street and someone was gonna shout "Scooter Girl." I'd be like, what? I don't even own a scooter.
There was someone in the studio before we came in. I opened the door. He's someone who does like finance contents online. So we made eye contact for 2 seconds and then I closed the door. And then he literally came out and we had a chat for 5 minutes before you came on. And I said, I'm about to record with Faye. And he was like, oh, who's Faye? I'm like, oh, the scooter girl.
No, honestly, that's literally how everyone describes it.
I was like, have you not seen her?
Oh my goodness. And no, it's like, so funny.
Girl. And I was like, I need to tell you about it.
And then when people are like, oh, what do you do? And I say, oh, I create content. And they're like, what type of content? I'm like, how do I explain this one? I ride a scooter around the streets of London and that's about it.
But there's more to it. And we'll get into that.
Yes.
So this episode is going to come out in January. New year, New Year resolutions. Yes. Everyone's going to go about like figuring out what they want to do for the rest of the year. One mind hack I found amazing when I came across your social media page, and it actually stayed with me. I think I was really, really obsessed when I came across this approach that you talked about, which was naming your brain, and yours is called Becky.
Yeah.
And I thought, like, at the very core, it talked about separating your inner critique from your true self, like your true self-worth. And that is so important because I do feel like these days it's, whatever you call it, like imposter syndrome is something like we've recently coined, but to me that's just like self-doubt, which is something normal. But I feel like sometimes it does get you down. It does prevent you from reaching out or from reaching like your true potential or from accessing it.
Definitely.
How did you come up with the idea of naming your brain? And can you maybe go through that sort of approach again for people watching you for the first time?
Yeah, of course I can. So I have to say I did not come up with that concept. There is a guy called Mo Gaudat, and he basically he came up with the concept of naming your brain. But when I first put that video out there, me and my sister one day were like, I think we were on a cycle ride, and she turned around to me and she was like, you should name your brain. And I was like, okay. And we were speaking about the concept, and I was like, what would I name it? And she was like, oh, what about Becky? And then we laughed because hers is called Ruth. But when I then put that video online, because I just heard it from my sister, I didn't know the original source of that. So I didn't know it came from Mo. And also in the podcast, Mo calls his brain Becky. So it's like very much like a direct replica of his kind of theory. So I absolutely can't take any credit for it. But when I also shared it online, I had like 1,000 followers. I genuinely thought like no one will see this. I didn't really know what I was sharing anyway. I was just like, oh, this will be a fun, like if this helps anyone then amazing. And then it just blew up. And then I had loads of comments saying like this came from Mo. And I was like, oh my goodness, as soon as I found out, I put it straight in the caption and was like, thanks so much to Mo. But the thoughts and like the concept behind it is basically everyone has like an inner monologue. So everyone has almost like a voice, maybe of self-doubt, sometimes of confidence, like you have an inner monologue. And I think when you listen to that over, it's so hard because that is you as a person as well. It's not like it's two completely separate things. But your inner monologue is always often there to protect you and keep you safe, and not necessarily to make you successful. Like there's a difference between safe and successful. And I think like you are able to it's not about silencing that part of your brain. It's just about working on your relationship with that part of your brain. So if you do have like an inner monologue that is like detrimental and saying that you're not good enough or that you're not worthy, it's about stepping back from that and almost like stepping into your power. And like creating separation between the two and being like, no, I'm taking back this power now. That's a really unhelpful thing to say. And actually like, I am worthy, and almost going back to that inner voice and being able to kind of rewire your relationship with it, I think is the main kind of point of that. And like I said in that initial video, mine's called Becky. And when I wake up in the morning and I think, oh, today's going to be an awful day, or I look in the mirror and I think, you just really don't look good today, I literally speak back to it in my head and I say, Becky, I love you, my girl, but that is so unkind. That's just not a nice thing to say, and that's really unhelpful right now, so can we not? And it just shifts everything. Like you as a person bring back all of the power to yourself, and you kind of give that part of your brain slightly less power. So I think that's like the part which is so important, and it makes such a difference to the way that you live your life. And also like following on from that, the way that we talk to ourselves, in my opinion, and like the relationship we have with ourselves is the most important relationship we will ever have in our whole life with anyone. Because the way that you talk to yourself is basically the way that you'll let the world talk to you or talk about you. And I think if you can shift that again so that you speak to yourself with kindness, with positivity and confidence, it will literally shape every other relationship in your life.
Isn't that interesting that the most important relationship is the one you have with yourself, and yet sometimes the most unkind one?
I know.
The
Always.
things that you'd say to yourself, you would never say that to a best friend.
No. And that's like one of the things as well. Almost before you say something, or if you're trying to find an answer out to something, maybe just ask yourself the question, like if my best friend was to ask me this question, what would I say? What would the answer be? And that's what I need to give to myself.
You talk to yourself?
Yeah, like, I mean, maybe I'm crazy, but I feel like everyone does. Like, I'm like,
smiling.
wait, am I cray-cray? Yeah, but not in like a, it's not even like talking to myself, it's like talking to my thoughts, and we all have thoughts. So like, I might look in the mirror and I might think something that's unkind, and then I'll be like, oh, that's so unkind, why did you just say that to yourself? We have to be kind to ourselves. It is like the most important relationship.
You know, I was speaking to my therapist about this, which is why I was smiling when you said that, because I told him, like, I look at myself in the mirror and I do appreciate myself. And it's nothing about, like, oh, wow, I'm like this really pretty girl, like super smart or whatever.
Exactly.
No, but it's just like, I feel happy looking at this person in the mirror. And I was telling him about how I look at myself when I'm brushing my teeth and I feel like happy and giggly. And he was like, that's so positive. And then I said, I sometimes do speak to myself. But like for me, it's like in my head. I internalize my thoughts a lot, but I'm speaking to my thoughts, even if it's not aloud.
Yeah, that's exactly it. And like, I think there's always this kind of fine line between confidence and arrogance, and like you don't want to feel like you're looking in the mirror and going like, oh, you're so cute. And if you said that out loud, people would be like, that's a bit arrogant. But it's not. It's just about like bigging yourself up and feeling confident in who you are, and then like you walk out into the world. And as I said initially, how you feel about yourself, that's how you let the world treat you. Like that's how you let people around you treat you. And I think like standing in your power is so important.
Have you been always so powerful when it comes to backing yourself up?
Oh, do you know what? Powerful. What a nice word. I don't think. I've always been like an extrovert. I went to drama school. I've always done singing and acting. So like I've never been shy on a stage or in front of people. I think in my teenage years, definitely not so. Like, I think my husband, George, has like a massive part to play in that as well. He always bigs me up. And like, if I was to ever say, he's actually here, so thanks, George. If I was to ever say anything like unkind about myself, it's not even like he would ever even agree. He'd just be like, no, that's absolutely not the case. And I think having a partner who also just supports you and sees the parts of you that no one else sees and still loves those parts of you as well, like that makes a massive difference. And I do remember being younger in my teenage years and thinking like, oh, will I ever find anyone? And I'm really lucky because me and George have been together for like 10 years. So I don't really know life in my 20s without a supportive partner. But yeah, I would say in my 20s, I have like always tried to stand in my own power, kind of realise what I have to offer to the world. And yeah, in my 20s, I've been really lucky with that. But it is something I've worked on as well.
That's really beautiful, highlighting your relationship and your partnership there, because I do feel like that plays a big part in your life.
Massively.
When you go about your day-to-day, other than speaking to yourself, backing yourself up, is there any other mind hack that you actually believe in so strongly and you would recommend to anyone?
Yeah, it's not necessarily like a mind hack. What I would say is we all have the ability to have bad days, of course. Like, it happens to all of us. We all have days where maybe we're in bed, we're scrolling on our phone, we think like, oh, today is just already not going to be a good day. And in those scenarios, like, Mel Robbins has this 5-second rule where it's like you count down from 5, obviously 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and then by 1 you don't even think about it. It doesn't give your brain enough time to think. You just get up and out of bed. So that's like something that I'll sometimes do, or even like a 2-minute reset. So anything that's going to take you 2 minutes. So that might be going and having a sip of water, like brushing your teeth, replying to an email, something that's like a really easy task. Starting with that, and then everything else will follow on from that. So I think not necessarily, I don't really have a specific mind hack like the Becky mind hack, which is like name your brain. But I definitely have tools that I use that are almost like in a toolbox inside of me that I think, okay, today feels a little bit harder. So let's do these things that you know that make you feel good. And mornings are just so important because it sets the tone for your whole day.
You know, along the lines of naming your mind, Becky, I came across, I think this goes back to maybe ancient like Buddhism or something. There's something called the monkey mind theory.
Yes.
Have you
Is
heard
it like
of
the chimp paradox?
Yes, it's almost very similar. It's like, I think when you call your mind Becky, in my head I can visualize like a little monkey. It's so restless, jumping around, jumping from one branch to another, like spinning narratives. And I think modern psychologists talked about it. It's like this little monkey that's in your brain and like try to pause it somewhere.
Exactly that. Like, that's it. And that goes along with the whole like speaking to yourself, like standing back in your own power, and also just not letting that part of your brain take over, because like it's not always correct. It's not always factual. Like, it is there to protect us, and sometimes that protection like can scare us. And it doesn't lead us into like the best version of ourselves. It kind of holds us back. So yeah, I think honestly, for me, like through anything, it's always self-talk. Like, it's always like if I'm led in bed and I think, oh, like today is just not going to be a good day, it's just about saying, Faye, you're amazing. Like, today can be a good day. You have to look for the good things in today. Like, you have to maybe go outside and try and find something that's amazing. Like, there's no reason why you can't go into every single day thinking, today could be the best day of my life. And you never know what's going to happen. And I think, like, as well, getting outside and just watching the world go by in whatever capacity that is, because I work from home 5 days a week. So if I don't get outside, I literally sit at my kitchen table and I stare out the window. And it's just so unhelpful. So I think, like, just knowing that if you look for it, I promise you there is good out there in every single day.
Speaking of there is good out there, how do you deal with the comparison game though? Because I think that's so unhealthy.
The worst.
And it's really, really hard. Like, especially now when I think of the next generation, we come from a generation of where we didn't have social media, we didn't have phones, and then we did.
Exactly.
So we can still like picture what life was before. This generation and the next generation will not. They will never know of a world where there was no phone, there was no social media. How do you cope? How do you equip yourself in a certain way to deal with the comparison game? Yeah,
it's such a good question. And I think, like, we're so overstimulated as a society. Like, we take in so much information. So the comparison side of things, it's like I put a reel out the other day and it said, if we sit on our phones in the mornings, we've literally entered so many other people's worlds before we've even stepped foot in our own that day. So we've watched something and it might be 8 o'clock in the morning and you go online and you've already seen that like 7 people were up at 6 a.m. and they've done a 10K already and they've had their breakfast, and like you're instantly starting your day on the back foot. You feel like you're just not good enough from the moment you wake up. And so it was all about kind of like, rather than starting your day and entering into everyone else's world, start your day, put 2 feet on the ground, enter into your own world, maybe open the window, do something that makes you feel grounded. And with regards to the comparison, it is so hard. We all do it, of course. Like I do it all the time. And I think it's when you know what your path looks like and when you feel like you're living really authentically and really aligned and you're exactly where you're supposed to be, they're the times where you don't compare, because you're so set on your own path and you're like, this is great. I know where I'm going. I know where this is going to lead. Like I don't need to look left and right. I'm literally just looking forward and I'm going to get to my destination. And so the comparison side of things is so hard because it's just everywhere. Like we have so many tabs open in our brain all the time. And I think the only way that we can stop comparing is just to slow everything down, turn a few tabs off and like focus on what really makes us feel good and what makes us feel like we're living our most authentic, aligned life. And if you genuinely do that, you just stop comparing because you're not looking to live someone else's dream, like you're living your own dream.
This really just hit me when you said when you wake up at 8 a.m., you are literally almost like in the presence of other people and you're watching other people's lives already.
Yeah. Yeah, you've entered into other people's worlds before you even have entered into your own by the time you've opened your eyes in the morning. Like, it's crazy. It's the weirdest concept, social media. Like, and now even being in it even more so as a creator, like I've obviously never been a creator. And just, I now even know, because I'm on the other side of it, like I know these people that are creating things, like we all know it's a highlight reel. And I think in terms of the comparison as well, you have to ask yourself, do you want the process or do you want the outcome? Because we all only see the outcome and no one sees the process of how long it's taken someone to get there, or like how much determination it's taken, how many setbacks they've had to get to where they have. And like, you know, same here with anything that I'm doing. Like, I'm so grateful to be on a podcast. Like, as I keep saying, 2024 me would be like, what on earth is going on? But, and it's not, you know, I'm not saying like I've been through tons to get here, but even on the rainy Tuesday where I'm still working my sales job. So like I'm going out in a lunch break and I'm like in my pajamas and I'm like, right, you get yourself ready, you go out. There's so much behind the scenes that goes on and we all only see the outcome. And
or the positive ones.
The positive outcome, exactly. And like, yes, social media is getting better for people being honest and like maybe talking about the things that haven't gone so well in their day. But 99% of it is the outcome. And I think like also just asking yourself the questions, like, do you actually want that person's life? Like, if you're looking at someone and you're thinking, oh, that just looks so amazing, like, do you actually want their life? And do you want the process it's taken them to get there? Or do you just want the outcome and what we can see on social media? And I think those types of questions really help because, like, as well, you can see someone having started a business, but you also don't know whether that's their 100th attempt at starting a business. Like, you don't know how long it's taken someone to get there. And I think that's the worst thing about social media. We only see the outcome and, like, the end.
You know, lately I was telling my sister, I have a twin, so I was telling my twin sister lately that I no longer want to take advice from people who haven't achieved it. And I know this will come across as really rude and arrogant, but I generally don't want to take advice from someone who hasn't made it. Made it as in terms of what I want to achieve. More so because sometimes it's very... It's almost like hindering in a way. It's like, oh, but like you need to level set, or like, oh, careful, you might burn yourself, like you might have a burnout, blah, blah, blah. But I'm like, you haven't achieved what I want to achieve. So it might be creeping into my self-doubt. And then 2, I really don't want to take advice from people who've made it, but haven't gone through the route where my values are aligned. I'm like, I don't want that path.
It's so true. And like, you know, obviously you have to ask people those questions and figure out how they've kind of made it to where they have. And everyone will have a completely different story, but like I totally get what you're saying. And it's always nice to have like inspiring people who maybe are like slightly further ahead than you, but who you really respect. And I think like, again, with the respect thing, like that comes back to, if you don't respect yourself, how can you expect the world and the people around you to respect you? Like it's so important.
And I think the alignment part is increasingly becoming a big thing for me. I just want to be aligned to my values, even in terms of people I'm surrounded by, people I take advice from. I just really want to sense like an alignment there. And it's really hard because how do you explain it? It's such an abstract concept, but I just really care about it more so.
Yeah, it's so true. Like being aligned and being authentic and feeling like you're living in alignment is like one of the greatest gifts. And it's really hard to get there.
Going back maybe for a second to the comparison game, and that question literally just came up now. You being part of a social media world now, when you go to, do you get invited to events, I'm sure?
Yeah, now,
right? So when you're part of that world and without like, you know, bashing about bashing the social media world, but as being part of it, do you now compare, for instance, like she's got like 200k followers, I've got 100k, or she's doing this amazing thing, she's got this amazing collaboration, she's getting paid work. Do you find yourself maybe comparing a little bit, or maybe how do you take a step back and not let yourself trap into the comparison game?
Oh, definitely, like all the time. And I think obviously when you're not in that world, you see someone who has a big following and you see like I would never even look at what views a reel gets on someone's page before. Like I wouldn't even know to even look at that, or what would be a good rating, what would be a bad rating in terms of like conversion of followers to views, etc. But when you're looking at that for your own profile, I just think it's so human. You can't help but look at someone else's page and be like, oh, they got invited there, or like I didn't. But also, like you said, it's about remembering what have they been through, how long have they been doing social media. Like I'm sometimes comparing myself to people who have been doing it for 5 years and I'm 6 months in, and it's like you can't. Comparison is the thief of joy, and all you can do is look at maybe what you've achieved in that 6 months and be like, do you know what, I'm only a little, like I'm so new in this world, and it's okay to be proud of how far you've come, and you don't have to look at everyone else, and like just keep looking forward and not sideways. And the comparison is bad, and it's like in terms of jobs, I still work full-time in sales.
Right.
So sales, you have like a different type of comparison because you often have people in your team and it's like, how many sales have you done this month? And it's like, exactly, like it's that competition. But that competition is all based on you. So like I kind of know if I work really hard in my sales job and if I speak to as many people and I'm kind of like making sure I'm touching base with people, the likelihood is the conversion will come. The craziest thing about social media is you can spend hours on a reel, you can think it's amazing, you can put it out there, and it's literally all down to the algorithm. It's so out of your control, and the numbers are so out of your control. And like I think that's the hardest thing, is there's not like a few steps and then you get an outcome and it's all based on the effort that you've put in. You can put the effort in and it's just all up to the algorithm. So I think that's where it becomes like a harder comparison. But yeah, and I do it all the time where maybe because I started my content on my scooter, and I think because that's a little bit different and it kind of feeds into the whole like inner child and the fun, and like often what I'm speaking about is almost along the lines of like, let's try and not take life too seriously. And obviously that message comes across and helps that I'm on a scooter when I'm saying that. And I am, especially since winter's come, I've been like, it's not always possible to get out and be on the scooter, and sometimes like I know it's going to get even colder and be slippy on the pavements, etc. So I've been like trying to try different avenues of content along the same lines. But because I am, and because I'm now entering into the world of more like B-roll content with voiceover, which is quite popular, I'm then looking at other creators like, how are they doing it? Whereas when I was just doing the scooter, there was no one else doing the scooter. So it was like, I was able to be so authentic with myself. And I think, again, it's all about like standing back in your power and being like, no, you've got here because you were authentic to yourself. So whatever feels best to next do, that feels really authentic to you, just do that. And you have to just hope that people are going to be there and like stick along for the ride and be there for the journey of whatever your evolution is.
On the other hand, I hear the parts where you started like 6 months ago and you're only new to this whole thing, and someone's getting maybe like an amazing collaboration and so on. On the other hand, you started 6 months ago and it blew up, right?
Yeah.
Do you have, and maybe you may not have people saying it to your face, but do you have people trying to take that away from you? Oh, like you only got lucky because you started on a scooter and it went viral. And I want to extend this as a question because obviously we are talking about social media, which is super specific, but I really want to extend this as a question for people listening to us where they could have achieved this amazing thing and someone could try to take it away from them and say, you've been lucky. It's just been timing, right?
Yeah.
Like, did you ever come across a similar situation, or do you question that? Does anyone try to take it away from you saying, oh, it's just been lucky, it's just been due to timing?
Yeah, and I completely hear what you're saying. I think the luck thing is so weird because realistically, like, I have been really lucky. Like, one of the first videos I put out went completely viral, and that was literally like the first thing I put out. And so I always say to people, like, I'm the first person to say I've been so lucky throughout this whole process. But every time I say that to George, my husband, he's like, no, but Faye, you're not, because like you've been curating yourself for 28 years, and every single change that you've made, every single bit of your journey has led to you being this personality, and that's now what people are like resonating with. So yes, it's lucky, but you're putting yourself out there as you, and you've been working on you for 28 years. So like, that part's not really luck. There's been a lot of work that's come into that. But no, like, I'm so grateful. I am really aware I've been really fortunate with like how my journey has become. And I think in terms of like what other people say and whether people try and take it away from me, one of the biggest things, or things that I always say in life, is go where you're celebrated and not where you're just tolerated.
I had shared that when you released it.
It's so true. And I think I'm sure people are saying stuff behind my back, but my close circle have only ever celebrated me, and they've only ever made me feel like so loved, and they've only ever said that they're so proud of me. So like, I have now like a small circle of people where I celebrate them as much as I possibly can, and they do exactly the same back. So like, I guess the honest answer is I've never really felt that. I've never felt that people are like speaking behind my back saying like it's just luck. I'm so sure they are. I'm sure people are saying that, but just not within my circle. Like, I'm so lucky to feel so celebrated within that. I think with that, it's like everything that anyone says, we all know is a reflection of them. So if you're doing something that feels really aligned to you, and it's like you're being really successful in your field, if someone is taking that away from you, it's like down to jealousy, or it's a reflection on how they're feeling in themselves. Maybe they're not feeling too aligned. Maybe like they're wanting your dream and they're not sure how to get there. I think it's just about remembering that if people are being like that to you, it's not on you, and just like keep aligned in your path, and like keep looking at where your journey is going, and just, again, it's just about standing in your power and being like, I'm where I'm meant to be. I'm going to do my thing, and that if you like it, amazing. If you don't want to be on board, that's also totally okay. But the people who aren't excited for you and don't celebrate you, it's just all, it's such a reflection of them. It's nothing to do with you and your journey. And I think like, if you are happy within yourself and you are feeling really motivated and excited about life, I've never once, when I've been in that headspace, not been happy for someone else.
True.
Like, you're always, if you're feeling good in yourself, you're so happy for everyone else's successes. You're like, yes, we're all in this together. Like, let's go for it. So yeah, I think just about staying in your lane, standing in your power, and knowing it's not on you at all.
This idea of being happy for others is so real. I had someone here yesterday and recorded another episode, and it's true, especially for me. Like, we've been within my circle of friends, most of the conversations tend to be around modern dating and like trying to find the right partner, marriage, and so on. And I literally say it's so many times I find myself at dinner tables where the one thing I want for myself may not have happened. For me, clearly, it's like more along the lines of dating and finding someone. And I say, but still, like, when people talk about their pregnancy news, that they're getting married and gay, I genuinely really feel happy for them, because I think deep down, I know it will happen to me. It's taking time, but I do believe it will happen one day. But right now, I just really want to celebrate people around me. And I just feel like so good. The idea of doing good to others and thinking good about others is so uplifting in a way. Yeah,
and there is honestly, like, there are so many good people in this world. There are so many people who want to celebrate you. There is so much happiness, and I think, like, again, that's a reflection. Your response to maybe someone's news, maybe something that you don't have, it's a reflection of, like, your core and how you... Yes, you don't have that part of your life, but maybe you have other parts of your life that make you feel fulfilled. And so you're on your journey, like you're on your path, you know where it's going to go, you have like faith in it. And I think that's why you're able to be happy for other people. And like, there's the whole thing that's like hurt people, and healed people, heal people. But also like, you can have gone through loads of hurt in your life, and you can flip that narrative, and you can then try and heal people or help people or be happy for people. And like, again, I did a video the other day, and it was just like, I hope you find so much happiness that it heals you, because like that's what we all need.
True.
So yeah, I think if you're able to be happy in your core, you can be happy for everyone else.
I 100% back this. The research says there's something called the Quitter's Day, and January tends to be the Quitter's Month.
Yes, okay.
It seems to be that whatever resolutions we pick at the start of the month or at the start of the year becomes end of January, like whether that's like a reality check, we can't keep up with the habits we've decided for ourselves, there's something called the Quitter's Month.
Yeah.
I loved one of your videos where you talked about allowing yourselves to start over again and again. Can we spend a bit of time speaking about this, tying in with the fact that everyone will have amazing resolutions when it comes to the new year, and a few months later, because either we get impatient, things are not happening, we can't keep up, which is completely fine. But how do we give ourselves the permission to start over whenever that is?
Yeah. I think with that, it's all about how often when we set these resolutions, we're looking for like a big firework moment, or we're looking for like, I'll be happy when, or like we're looking for the outcome. And I think it's about knowing that you can literally start over at 10 a.m. on a random Tuesday. It doesn't have to be a new week. It doesn't have to be a new year, a new month. You can try again as many times as you need to. And like if today hasn't gone the way that you wanted it to, it's okay, like you can try again tomorrow. And I think it's just not about almost like putting a limit on how many things and goals you can set yourself. You can literally set yourself a new small goal every single day, and if you show up for yourself every day, there's a book called Atomic Habits, and it's basically like, if you want to go for a run, just start by putting your trainers on. Maybe run 500 meters for the first day, and then the second day a kilometer, and like it's about making small micro like changes and habits to get to the outcome, rather than being so obsessed with the outcome and like, I'm not going to be happy unless I hit this goal. Because that's where we then like fall off track, and that's where we then go like, I want to have done X by the end of the year or by the end of the month, and maybe it's like a big goal, and it's not really about that. It's about loads of tiny little resets, and you can do that every single day. And like there's such a juxtaposition between you can try again tomorrow, and then also like don't save things for tomorrow. It's not guaranteed. Right, it's really hard to know the balance between the two. And like, again, when it comes to saving things, I'm the worst for being like, you know, getting a fancy candle or something and being like, oh, I'll wait till the dinner party with the girls to light that. Today. Yeah, exactly. And honestly, I know it sounds so cliche, but all we have is now. So we just need to make sure that we are living for now, but equally, like, if now hasn't gone to plan, that's also okay. The likelihood is we keep our fingers crossed, we will get tomorrow and we can try again. And that's like one of the greatest gifts that life gives us, like the opportunity to constantly be able to try again. So yeah, I would say don't necessarily focus on the outcome, the crazy firework moment, the crazy achievement. Focus on like the tiny micro changes and the constant resets to get there, because I feel like that's what the most successful people do, and like they also try again until something lands.
Celebrating the small wins along the way.
Exactly, like celebrating the small wins. And honestly, another thing that I think is so powerful is where you can always just finding something to celebrate. And it can be so small. And like my mum and dad will always joke about me and George, because we'll like go for dinner on a Tuesday and they'll be like, oh, what are you celebrating today? Because sometimes we'll just be like, oh, should we celebrate that like I ran 5K today? Or should we celebrate like the fact that we made it through the week? Or should we celebrate that meeting went well? Like whatever it is, it can be the tiniest thing, but just trying to find things that you can celebrate, because that's really, if we can find the excitement and joy in the everyday, the reality is 99% of life is spent in the mundane, like in just the everyday. You wake up, you do X, you go to sleep. So like you have to be able to find pockets of joy within that. Otherwise your life is literally going to be mundane and it's not going to feel inspiring.
95% of your life is the mundane things. I love this. See, I was right. I just needed to speak to you today.
Honestly.
You know, with the podcast, like I've been doing this for the past 2 years, and it's amazing, like the response we've had. And I've invested my money in this, as in I pay for the studio, I pay for the editing and all of that, and I started at home in my living room. There's like an old video of like me on my couch with like my guest, and my guest would actually come at home, which was like, now I'm like, these guests were amazing, like they never questioned it, like, you know, they just turned up. But like now I'm at a point where I really want to have some sponsorship, more so because I'm like, I believe in this podcast so much that I do think like there should be some brands who would be willing to part with some money and like, you know, in exchange for like, yes, we'll talk about like your targets and so on, right? And as long as it's aligned, I don't want to jump on anything. Course. But like even with like the pitching it to brands or like to organizations or companies or like more like the corporate world, when I'm speaking to like these big corporates, like, you do have people saying, yeah, but I don't see how we're going to fit within like your podcast because you're talking about life. And I'm like, but well, you can give me your targets in terms of like, do you want to achieve education, like educational targets, or like talk about environment, like whatever it is. But the idea that even sometimes the idea of like, why am I having to explain this when I believe in this so much? It does get me frustrated. Like, I'm going to be honest. But I know it will happen in the future. But in the moment, I'm like, why am I having to like explain it with so much conviction? But I believe in it so much. But in the meantime, to what you just said, celebrating the small wins, whenever I have people saying amazing things in my DMs, like, oh my God, the work that you're putting, this really helped me, I really screenshot these messages and I have a folder on my phone called podcast feedback, or like feedback from people. Oh
my goodness, but it means everything, doesn't it?
But I watch it and read it.
And like, first of all, you should be so proud of yourself, because this whole concept would have come from a small idea. You would have been like, I want to start a podcast. And this leads on to like, you only see the outcome. No one sees the fact that you're putting your own money into this. No one sees the fact that you will have had to like go around London and find a studio and find out what fits best. And then you've got cameras and mics and equipment, and like, everyone's just seeing us sat here talking today.
True.
And I think like, that's again where you have to want the process, not just the outcome. Like, it can be amazing for all of us to think we'd love to have a podcast, but the amount of work that you put into this is amazing, and it's all come probably from you doing like tiny restarts and like trial and error and resets and things like that. So yeah, you should definitely feel so proud of yourself. It's amazing, and it's like such a gorgeous, nice environment to be in.
I didn't pay her to say this, guys.
No, I didn't even get a single penny. But no, and I think like,
but I think it was just really the idea of like screenshotting those messages from people.
Yeah, it makes such a difference.
It hit home, because I'm like, she's so right. Like, it is like the mundane things that at the end of the day do matter.
And most people in this world are like, mundane is such a horrible word, but like, they're living in the everyday. Most people are not like on crazy yachts making millions of pounds and like living the life that we all see on social media. We're all not even necessarily existing, because that feels really sad, but like, we're all just trying to find the joys in the everyday, and whatever it is that makes you happy, just do it. Like, it could be your morning coffee, it could be changing the bed sheets, like whatever it is, just make sure that you have pockets of joy throughout the everyday. It's the only way we can get through.
Do you romanticize your life?
Yeah, definitely. All the time.
I could hear George. I laugh.
I am such, like, I romanticize everything. And also, I do just have, like, in my mind, my go-to is to try and flip it to a positive. So, like, everyone will always say, like, there is also this thing that's like toxic positivity and like making everything positive, and it's okay, you can sit in your sadness and things like that. And of course I do that as well. But I think it's just about trying to be grateful. I think like gratitude is everything. It's so amazing. And like, if you really sit down and look at some of the good things in your life, everyone will have things that they are grateful for, and that's like such a good thing to practice. And again, like in terms of tips you asked about at the beginning, if you can, before you go to bed or when you wake up in the morning, even if it's just in your head, say 5 things you're grateful for, like, how can you not go to sleep in a good mood? You've just said 5 amazing things that you're grateful for. So I think that's really important as well. But yeah, I romanticize everything. Even like going for my morning coffee and scooting around the streets. Yeah, like I really try and just romanticize all of the tiny little things.
Oh, Faye, I love this conversation so much. You're my last guest for 2025.
Oh my goodness,
but
exciting.
But when I'm going to watch this again, when we are about to edit this, it will be like, you know, around Christmas or maybe like post-Christmas or into 2026. And I know even right now in the moment, I know I'm going to watch this and feel so good and be smiling to myself when I'm going to watch the conversation. So it goes back to what we started with, you know, when we started the podcast. I literally said it's like having one of those conversations.
It will carry
throughout the rest of the week. But it's literally one of those conversations. Super, super powerful. Thank you so much for coming on.
Oh my goodness, thank you so much for having me. Honestly, one honour. My mind is completely blown that I'm on a podcast, so what the helly? But yeah, thank you so much. I've loved this conversation. In my head, I'm like, oh my goodness, did I say enough? Like, you know, we all have that self-doubt, but again, we got to practice what we preach, stand in our power, and just hope that this podcast makes people feel hopeful and joyful.
It will, 100% will. You know, I have to tell you, when I shared this on my social media, and I don't normally like share, like I share like motivational stuff, but I literally said, I love her content so much, you guys should follow. I had friends who came around and said, oh, like following, and they were like,
stop.
I think the Becky thing, one of my friends actually said, she's a wedding planner.
Yeah.
Or like events planner rather. And she goes, I'm wondering what I should call mine. And she was like, maybe something like Jemmy, because I mentioned this to her, and she was like, it's kind of a friendly feel, like, oh, Jemmy, stop it.
Yeah.
I was like, that's so cute.
It's so cute. And honestly, I know it feels like a crazy concept, but like me and my sister will always make it a joke, and I'll be like, how's Ruth today, babe? And she'll be like, oh, God, Ruth's been having a hard week. But like, obviously we're joking. We talk about someone that's not ourselves, but it's almost like a way of checking in and being like, how's your mental health? Like, how's Ruth? Is she all right this week? And like, you can make it into, we all go through mental health, like we all have bad days, good days, so it's like a nice light way of being able to sort of speak about the topic.
It's really interesting how you went, I can't believe I'm on a podcast, and I went, I can't believe she said yes.
Oh my goodness. Yeah, it's so true. It's so true. Oh, well, I've literally had the best time. Thank you so much for having me, Jemma.
Thank you for coming on. And Becky wasn't part of the conversation today. I had you in person. Thank you very much.
I know you had Faye today, not Becky. Thanks,
Faye.